Hey guys, welcome back to the Bayside Fabrication YouTube channel. Today, we're gonna start working on the exhaust a little bit here. Now, what I have already done, that I did not film because my GoPro is dead, was I have a 45 degree bend tacked in place with a V-band to the turbo. Now, my exhaust, I have 4 feet of titanium that I'm gonna play with. So what I'm going to do is have the up pipe come here, pretty much terminate in this area, and then we're gonna go from titanium from here, out here, and out here. And we're probably gonna go right along the bumper mount guides just for symmetry, so that'll kind of be our target. And ultimately, the exhaust is gonna pop right through the trunk right here on either side. So it's gonna be a pretty cool looking deal, especially when it's all blued and stuff with the titanium. It'll actually match the car and kind of be a little more subtle than than like a big shiny stainless or something like that. So with that being said, here's our 3.5 inch up pipe, and we're gonna be using 3.5 inch titanium as well. But since this is a street car, I'm gonna do a little bit of resonating here. So this is just a vibrant 9-inch muffler. So what I'm doing now is we'll just sleeve this over the tube and then use that as a guide to cut the tube. So it pretty much winds up being in the same area, but that's what we're shooting for, is having this little muffler here to kind of just take out maybe some of the raspiness or something like that. So I mean, these are pretty all business setups here, but it's better than nothing, that's for sure. So I'm hoping to get just a little less open, downpipe sound out of it. I actually used 2 of the 5-inch mufflers on my 996 exhaust, and they definitely are better than nothing, that's for sure. So we're just do that. They're only 60 bucks or so. So we also have to connect our wastegate tubes to our up pipe as well. I was going to have them individual, but just for plumbing reasons, it's easier if I just tee them into the up pipe, and then that will be that. So we're going to do a little figuring out here with this exhaust, but I think it's going to be a pretty cool setup. Okay, so what we're doing now is figuring out the height on this, because we really need this as close as we possibly can get without interfering with the Y branching off here, because we need to be able to tie into the up pipe before the muffler. So it's a little bit tricky. And then what we're going to do is transition from stainless to titanium with a V-band. So this is actually a titanium V-band made by Vibrant, and you can just buy male or female sides of it. I actually found like 2 in the whole country right now because everything's back ordered of a female side. This female side is $86. So titanium is ultra expensive. And then I bought a complete stainless side for that. So obviously the stainless side is going to weld to the stainless, and then the titanium will be from here on out. So I'm just using a small amount of titanium. It's kind of just something I'm playing with. I've never really used it before. I did a couple test pieces here, which got a little interesting. I heated them with a torch and stuff, and I really just played with them. This was just something my friend gave me, but I need to do a lot more. I need to take a lot more care when I actually start doing this exhaust, because it's a very sensitive material to oxygen, so gas coverage is paramount. Obviously, I wasn't able to purge those or anything like that, so that's why they kind of got weird on the color. All right, we're getting ready to throw the turbo manifold and everything back on, but while we're here, we're gonna pop out the expansion tank that's on there, because it's really close to the exhaust manifold, and honestly, these things are notoriously junk anyways, so I think I'm gonna build one. All right, guys, just got the manifold back on here, and now we have our Vibrant muffler that I'm gonna toss on right about there. Now I cut the up pipe where it was, so this should take its place, and now I just have to shim it so we have good clearance all around, and it's in a nice position to V-band off of. Check this out. We pulled the manifold off. This is what we're dealing with. So my up pipe here is in the right position. The muffler is kind of where I want it to be. So now the idea is we have to connect these two gates to the up pipe. I don't want to do just dump into the ground or anything like that. I think it'd be nice clean if we just do it all in the up pipe here. All right, guys, we're into a little snag here that I just want to share with you. When I had this bolted to the manifold in the car, I only had 2 bolts in it, and there was just a little gap because one side was just kind of clamped down a little more than the other. And that wasn't a big deal. However, when I clocked the turbo to line up to where I wanted it, I ran into a fitment issue. So you can see I'm just touching just barely there. Now keep in mind there's no gasket here. So what I did was I went and just ground off a little bit of the turbo housing here. I'm just gonna do that just a slight little bit more. It's really not that much. It's just a tiny little bit. And there's plenty of meat in this casting. This is, oh geez, this is at least 1/8 to 3/16 thick on the casting. So I'm not worried about burning through that at all. So that's all I have to do. Right now it's clamped fully and there's just a little bit of contact. So I'm just gonna get a little tiny bit of space in there and that will be that. So sometimes these are the things that happen. You know, it's just a small oversight. And like I said, when I clamped down the one side, this, you know, it kind of just clamped it like this a little bit. And then when I clocked it, I'd never double checked the clearance to the gate because it clocked and had freedom there. And you know what? It's not a big deal at the end of the day. It's just, you know, I wish I could have done it a little differently at the time, but it's all good, guys. Well, guys, this is the part that kind of sucks. Pulling the manifold and turbo in and out, just make sure everything's fitting. But here's what we got so far. And now we just got to line up this to here. And I was going to tee into this, but I have enough room to just make a separate entry here. So I got this piece cut. Now it overlaps here a little bit, so I got to scallop this out with our die grinder. But that's how it's going to go. So both gate tubes are going to go right after the turbo here. And then we'll just simply do a couple pie cuts to get it precise and connect it to that one. So I think that's going to be the easiest way to do things on this. All right, guys, you can see the plasma just made short work cutting these holes. So what I'm going to do now is just take our deburring tool and just smooth them all out. And now we'll be ready to get all of our pipes fitted here. I just got a couple pie cuts on here because this is a really funky angle I had to make everything fit to. But the ultimate goal here is to just connect this tube to here. So that should be pretty straightforward. I'm almost there. We just got a little more geometry to do here and some figuring, but I think it's gonna work out pretty well and be a pretty cool little piece here. Might be a little tricky to remove, but we'll see how that goes once we get there. All right, guys, while we're at it, I just wanted to show you how I'm doing my cuts. I simply just have a piece of angle clamped to my angle miter gauge here, and I'm just clamping the tube to this. Now I just got this saw set up for metal like a couple days ago, so I really need to work on getting this like nice and build something that's a little better than what we have here. But for the time being, this works pretty well. So that's what we're using, and you know, you can see we can, you know, create any angle, and then once it's clamped, you know, run it through the saw like that. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, this is a wood saw. I got this for 200 bucks, and I converted this to cut metal. So what I did was I had to buy a pulley and essentially step down the speed significantly, because this was running at like 1700 and I think 3600 RPM, or feet per minute rather. And I don't know exactly what it stepped down to, but it's slow. And I have 2 speeds now. One is actually a little too slow for the blade I have. I'm running an 810 metal blade on this. But yeah, the one that I have is just The slow speed is actually too slow for this blade. It likes to grab really hard. So I run it at the higher speed, which I would assume is probably around 200 or probably around 300 feet per minute. And the slow speed's probably about 150. That would be my educated guess. So just want to show you guys that. All right, we got our last piece here. 2 pieces rather. So this one goes in here. And the last piece I had here was a little bit short. But this is looking like it's gonna be perfect. All right, got everything tacked in place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to test fit this one last time, and then we're going to weld whatever we can on the fixture here. Then we're going to not weld this last part onto the up pipe, and we'll pull this off, weld everything else, because this will move. No matter what you do, things are going to move a little bit. But since all 3 of these contact points, they need to stay where they are, so they fit back on here. So the last thing we'll do is weld to the up pipe, and that will allow all this to be steady, and the only variable would be heat in this area. So that's really kind of my plan with the bottom and the top. Also, when we weld these V-bands, I'm going to keep them clamped to the gates because I have had experiences where these V-bands will get too hot and the faces of them will warp, and you can get a little blow-by there if that's the case. So we don't want any of that. I'll tell you what, this turbo is not getting lighter as I build the manifold here, but check it out. Let me try to get some light in here for you guys. So I got that tank out, and that cleared up a lot of room in there. Looks much better. This coolant line's gonna go at some point, and all these hoses. So essentially this side is gonna be wide open after I'm done cleaning it out. But for now, we just gotta make sure we clear everything. We got clearance to the oil filter. We got about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, which I'm not really thrilled about. I really think I'm just gonna get an oil filter relocation kit and a oil cooler, because why not have an oil cooler, you know? The muffler clears everything. We got plenty of room on all sides here for movement. So we also have our clearance with our V-band here, which is going to tie into our titanium for our exhaust pipe. Now, I might hold off just a little bit on doing that, just because I have so much more to do to get this car running, and there's honestly really no reason that it has to be a priority at this point, just because, honestly, for tuning or something, I can just pull the trunk off and leave, you know what I mean? Something like that. Just tack on the stainless V-band that we have extra and just do a quick little exhaust, because that's not going to really affect anything. And I want to really take my time with the titanium. It's a new thing that we'll be doing, so I really want to make sure that's nice. But until then, you know, we have so much more work to do to get the car running. I don't want to waste a bunch of time building an exhaust for a non-running car. I'd rather hear it run, get it started, and then that will be kind of like icing on the cake. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. I know you guys are probably bummed that that's not something I'm doing this second, but I think it's, from a practical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. So that is kind of what I'm thinking, and I apologize if you know, you guys are not gonna see that right away, but it's just the way it is. So now we got all of our clearance and everything. It's time to weld this gates all back together and get the exhaust side finally buttoned up to this point. The only thing we do have to do is add an O2 sensor. I'm probably gonna add the O2 sensor right up here. So it's past the gates, and it's, I think you're supposed to put a wideband about a foot, 8 inches to a foot past the turbo. So that's what we'll do there. We'll get that wideband bung installed as well. gonna have to end that one off here. We have a lot of small details we're starting to iron out now with this swap and incorporating it to the Porsche chassis. So that's kind of where we're at. I hope you enjoyed what you're seeing, and like, subscribe, tell your friends if you guys are into this, and stay tuned for the next one.